Today's terrible judge is actually Facebook, operating in Sweden, which has assisted in Afghan rape of Swedish women as well as preventing Afghan criminals from being deported. 60,000 men in a closed Facebook group watched the rape of an unconscious Swedish woman in the Uppsala rape case. The Swedish courts decided not to charge these men with distributing pornographic materials, and they only got 27 months in prison. Facebook also took no action. Years later, during COVID, an Afghan rapist was refused deportation because he refused to take a COVID test, information he learned from Facebook groups, indicating their legal interference in Swedish courts. Despite this, Facebook has not been fined or banned from Sweden. Today's terrible judge comes to you from Anne Arundel County Courts of Maryland, where the Honorable Michael Wax agreed to release child murderers who murdered Christopher David Jones as he rode home on his bike. Jones, the son of a police officer, was subject to black-on-white gang violence in Maryland to such an extent that he changed schools. However, this didn't have an impact, and he was jumped by 4 black youths whose parents knew about this as well as the school. Jones fought back and was brave enough to be able to cycle away on his own, but sadly he succumbed to his injuries and died. The defendants served only 2 years in prison and are now free for this heinous crime. Wax is set to retire in November. Hopefully he doesn't let any more murderers go. Today's terrible judge comes to you from Cook County, Illinois, where Cook County Judge Tyra Walton found Whitley Temple not guilty of 1 count of attempted murder, despite Temple stealing a police car and running over Officer Popish. Popish, a 23 veteran of the police force, suffered a concussion and required several stitches when he stopped to help Temple, who was naked in the street. Instead of being grateful and thanking the police officer, Temple got aggressive, stole the police car, and then ran Popish over with it. She pled insanity despite the fact that the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services hired Temple as a lead accountant while awaiting trial. Not very insane. This case raises questions of whether the police should help certain people at all. Today's terrible judge is actually a school administration in England. Erdington Primary School in Birmingham, with headmaster Michael Collin, was repeatedly advised of the bullying occurring to 9-year-old Aaron Dugmore. Dugmore was a pupil at the school, which is majority Asian, minority white, and he was repeatedly bullied, including being threatened with a plastic knife. The student who threatened him said it would be a real knife next time, and they got into a shoving match. Despite this, a police inquiry found that Dugmore was not systematically bullied, and so the school had no liability in the boy's death when he sadly committed suicide at the age of just 9 years old. Today's terrible judge comes to you from Canada, where Superior Court Justice Alfred O'Mara has released an illegal immigrant, Osman Osman, for stabbing a young girl to death. Osman Osman killed Toronto legal receptionist Julia Ferguson by bringing a knife to the law firm and stabbing her repeatedly with it. Ferguson's desk faced the front door, and she had alerted her team and members of the law firm that she was afraid of Osman because he had been calling and emailing incessantly. She alone at the Hicks Adams law firm was alerting people to Osman's danger. When he stabbed her repeatedly in the chest, he said that he was trying to defend himself from demons, and the judge bought this excuse and has placed him in mental health care facilities until a space is available at the Center for Addiction Today's terrible judge is a defense attorney for youth. Lawyer Kelly DeCalloway is in charge of defending up to 10 children ages 11 to 16 who gang raped a 14-year-old girl in a Belgian forest. The girl was lured there by her boyfriend, who then encouraged the gang to attack her, and they did so, filming their sexual assault on Snapchat, where it will now be disseminated to various pornographic websites without her consent, causing generational trauma. Kelly DeCalloway succeeded in getting house arrest for some of her clients and stated, "These are horrible facts. The question is, how is it possible that these questions have lost all sense of norms? How are we going to solve this?" Well, Kelly, Belgium is not in charge of intaking the third world. How are we going to solve this? Maybe by introducing public hangings and stricter sentences